Oh, we've got two viewers. Hello. We're sorry, we're just sitting here waiting for people to show up, but we've got two viewers, which is great. Welcome. My name is Isaac.
I'm Olivia.
And we're going to sort of give you a little bit of an introduction to planning your ICS fundraising. So it is bang on 6 o'clock, so we're probably just going to wait for a few more people to show up before we get started with sort of the main stuff. But just to give you guys an idea of how you can ask questions, there is, if you hover on your screen, I think on the left-hand side of your screen, you should be able to see a Q&A button. And if you click on there, it will bring up a bar and you can press the green button at the bottom of that section and ask questions. So do ask as many questions as you want to, and we'll try and get through to as many of them as we can. You can also +1 questions that other people have asked as well, and that just shows us that there are lots of people who are interested in those. I'm just wondering whether the Q&A function is actually working. Liv, do you want to just go on to the webinar on your screen, and then we can just check?
Yeah.
If you are having problems with the Q&A function, maybe just, and you've got questions to ask, then you can always drop us an email at ics.fundraising@volunteerics.org, and we'll be able to check there as well, just in case the Q&A function isn't working, because we have had that before where it's not worked. So I'm just having a look to see whether there's an issue with it, or whether it's just that we can't see the button. Yeah, if you just click, yeah. Okay, good. So we've just checked. It looks like you can ask questions. So please do ask us any questions, and also let us know if you've got any issues or if you can't hear us or anything like that, which I suppose you won't know unless you can hear us. Which, yeah. Okay, we've got 4 viewers, so I think what we're going to do is get started. The idea of today is just to give you a bit of an introduction to what we would recommend for you guys to start planning your fundraising. I guess what's really key for us as well is that you're in contact with your fundraising support officer. So if there are any questions that you don't get answered in today's webinar, or if there are any questions that come to you after you've watched it, or if you're not sure about how to plan your fundraising, then do please get in contact. Equally, we love to hear about the volunteers who are doing really well and are on top of things and having success with their fundraising activities. So please do get in contact with that as well, and let us know, and then we can share stories on our Facebook group as well. So do join the group, and we can share those good stories and good ideas that you guys are planning and carrying out with your fundraising. I think probably the best thing for us to do to start off with is show the video. Yeah. So we'll get started by showing you our first video, which has got me in it, so you get more of my face, and it's just talking about how you do this thing called network mapping, and the idea is just to support you in making the most of all the networks that you've got access to. So just bear with us while we get that up, and we will play that for you.
I think if you come here. Did you, oh sorry, back to the, did you click share? And then, yeah, there we go.
Hi, and welcome to this ICS fundraising tips video. My name's Isaac, and I'm going to take you through an activity today which I find really useful when I'm planning my fundraising. It's designed to get you thinking about all those different people who might be able to help you with your fundraising efforts. It's called network mapping, and it's really simple. So you start with a big piece of paper,
And I'm going to write my own name in the middle of that piece of paper. Once I've done that, I'm going to think of somebody else that I know and pop their name somewhere else on the piece of paper. I'll connect those two names together, and then I'll have a think about the ways that they might be able to help me with my fundraising. Would they come along to an event that I've organised? Would they help me to organise an event? Do they have any special skills or talents that they could donate? For example, they might be an artist or a performer. Maybe they work somewhere useful. So if they work in a supermarket, for example, they might help you to organise a charity backpack. So I've chosen my friend Anne, and Anne works in a pub. So I'm going to talk to Anne about whether it's possible for us to run a pub quiz at her pub. But I also think that Anne would probably support me by donating towards my sponsored activities. So I'm going to pop both of those things down as well. So you can carry on doing this with loads of different people. Do it with as many people as you can think of. Or you can start doing it with groups of people or organisations that you've been involved with in the past. So for example, I'm going to think about my old school. And also my family. I'm also going to have a think about my office, my workplace, whatever that workplace might be. I'm going to think a bit further back as well and think about any youth groups that I might have been part of when I was younger. Once you've spent about 15 or 20 minutes doing this, you should have filled up your page with loads of possible fundraising links for you to make use of. If you need any help with the network mapping itself or with coming up with new ideas, then do get in touch with your fundraising support officer. And we also have a great A to Z of fundraising ideas video for you to check out if you're a bit unsure about what kind of activities you could use with these networks. Good luck with all of your fundraising. Don't forget to get in touch if you need anything. And I'm going to crack on and finish off my networking map.
So I'm going to stop sharing now and you can get our faces back again, hopefully. So good, here we are. Great. So if you've got any questions about that video specifically, then do ask them on the questions and answers section. Or if you've got other questions, that's absolutely fine. We're here to answer those as well. But that video really is just looking at making sure that you really think about all of the different options that you've got available to you. Because we know that sometimes you can get stuck in thinking about one particular group and then you end up asking them again and again and again and again. Obviously, each of you are going to have very different groups that you can sort of ask. Liv, because Liv actually was an ICS volunteer,
yep.
Maybe you want to tell us a bit about the different groups that you used for your fundraising?
Yeah, definitely. So because I was still at university, I was getting to the end of university, I decided that I was going to do a gig night because it was coming to the end of exams and I thought it would be a really good way to get students involved, but I didn't really want to host it around the university campus. So I had a look, I was in Bristol at the time and I had a look at potential places to do a gig night in town, because I thought I'd then be able to invite all my friends and their friends, but also get the sort of local community involved in that. So that was kind of my main event that I focused on. And I also did a raffle and had some games on the night, which proved pretty successful. And then I did other bits and bobs, some sponsored things and a couple of bake sales, and broke it down that way.
Well, yeah, and I think like you're saying, that's one of the things that I think is a really good piece of advice, is if you are doing an event, if you are able to get a space to do an event, then adding things onto it is always a good way to sort of maximize that group. And I definitely sort of, when I'm doing fundraising, think about, right, what's the best way, what's the best tactic for that group of people? So you might have a load of friends. If you're at uni, you might have a load of friends and think that that group of people are great, but they're not going to just donate to me for nothing, but they might donate if I'm doing something that's a bit embarrassing, or they might donate because they come to an event like a gig night or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely worth trying.
And I think what was good about it was I was just really cheeky and just asked people, because I knew one friend that was in a band, and so I asked if he'd play on the night, and then I just looked into local bands in Bristol, and just asked if they'd be interested in playing a charity gig night, and I got a really good response from people, so I didn't have to pay for any musicians, I didn't have to pay for the venue, and then I started looking for raffle prizes, just went into shops and businesses and sent a few emails around, and basically was just really cheeky, just asking.
It's always good. Top
just to
tip.
see what comes back. Yeah.
It's always worth asking, because you don't, like, if you don't ask, then you don't get. I mean, that's an old cliche, but it's really true. And if you don't go and actually just ask people, then you'll never know. And I think that can be quite a difficult, like, first hurdle to get over, that feeling of like, I don't want to ask, I really don't want to do it. But actually, once you break through that first barrier and you start doing it, it'll probably start to get a little bit addictive, and then you'll be like, yeah, I want to ask them, I'm going to ask them. And I think, the other thing to remember is that you're going to be doing this for sort of 2 months, maybe 3 months, with your fundraising. So in that time, maybe it's okay to be a bit annoying and pester people a bit more than you normally would. You're going to be gone for 3 months going overseas. So that'll be a really good sort of opportunity, I think, if you make the most of that and really push yourself out there and outside your comfort zone, maybe. But also think about, like you were saying, you ask friends for help with your gig night. Actually asking others for help in terms of doing some of those uncomfortable things can be quite good. Yeah, and while I was like managing the night and just checking everyone was okay, they helped me do like sell raffle tickets, which was really useful. So definitely, if you can ask friends or family, or family friends to get involved on your activities too, get them involved. You don't have to do it all on your own. Yeah, definitely. So we've got our first question. Thank you, Laura. So what kind of businesses did you approach for raffle prizes, and who are the most responsive, smaller businesses or national global corporations? So for me personally, obviously it's going to be quite different for everyone, but I found that local businesses were more responsive to me, but I think that might be a Bristol thing. There's lots of independent shops, and so I walked up and down like the high street as well and just tried everywhere. I also had a few friends that had their own businesses, like made clothes and things like that. So I asked them. I don't know what do you find? I think usually one of the other things with that, if you're going to do that, we've got an authorization letter that you can take with you. So if you've not got that, then just check your emails, because it should be attached to an email that we've sent you. But if you still can't find it, then just ask your fundraising support officer and they'll be able to send you that again. And that just means that you look a bit more official. But when I've done it before, I've had 2 different sort of experiences where I did that. I went up and down like a high street and just went into lots of different shops, like hairdressers and a wine shop and a cheese shop. Beauticians. Places like, there are some places which are really good at it. So I know that Lush often will give you some of their stuff. Starbucks might do.
Nando's.
And if you go in and ask, then the manager usually has discretion to do that and is able to do that. But if you're just writing letters, I think you tend to find you don't get such a good response if you're writing letters. I mean, it does depend. Like if you've got the time to sit down and write some letters and send them out, then do, because you never know what will come back. But if you're sort of a bit like, oh, I'm actually really busy, then maybe taking an afternoon and going up and down a high street with a letter, and maybe with one friend, just to help you feel a bit more confident, then that's probably a good way to do it.
Just because then you are being more personal, because it's so easy to just send a quick email. But if you're taking the time to go and chat to people face to face, and you can, show that you're really excited about your fundraising and your volunteer placement, then people, may be a bit more responsive that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think big companies also will have they have something called corporate responsibility, and they will do various different things where they have a sponsor a particular charity or something like that. And sometimes they'll be like, well, that's what we do for charity, and so we wouldn't do anything from head office other than that. Whereas if you go into a local branch, the manager might just be like, yeah, it doesn't cost me anything to just give you a free meal at Nando's. And Millie's Cookies have done it before. I think they'll give you like one of their big cookies as a prize or something.
Oh, nice.
And then there were schemes as well, like the Krispy donuts.
Kreme. Krispy Kreme have a fundraising section on their website, and you can buy donuts for a really discounted price, and then you can just sell them on. If you wanted to do a really quick bake sale or donut sale, that could be quite good, especially around universities or colleges where there's lots of people.
And the other thing, of course, is just thinking about your networks. And sometimes you don't realize who you know, but so I did a raffle with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and his dad actually worked in the travel industry. I didn't know that, but then when we were talking about it, we realized that he might be able to get some stuff. And this was amazing. And I'm not saying that this will definitely happen, but because he was in the travel industry, he was able to get 2 Eurostar tickets, 2 first-class tickets to anywhere in the UK, and a breakfast, a high tea in a hotel in London, which was amazing. Like, those are brilliant prizes, and we were so lucky to get them. But you never know, like, if you don't sort of think about all of those different networks and go, right, where do my parents work? Where does that friend work? Who's that contact involved with? Where have they worked previously? And they might be able to, people who work in pubs might be able to get you a free round or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge prize. It can be something quite simple. But I'm sure a lot of you will know people who are hairdressers or work in pubs or work in supermarkets. And when they've got a connection to that company, that's going to be a really good way of getting something, because they're more likely to get a positive sort of response. Hopefully that's answered the question. Do ask more questions, those of you who, I think we've got a couple more people have joined us, which is great. So do ask questions by clicking the green button in the Q&A panel. Do we want to show another video?
Planning your fundraising?
Yeah, so we've got another video now, which is just about a way that we would recommend planning your fundraising from start to finish. We definitely don't recommend sort of doing one big idea. It can work, but I think our experience is that if you break it down, then you can say, right, this event will be, I'll raise this much. And so this just takes you through our recommendation of how you might want to do that. Let's have a look, see if I can do this as smoothly as possible.
Welcome guys to the second video in our guide to ICS fundraising. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jess.
And we're here to help you break down a recipe for fundraising success.
We know that when you get your fundraising target, you might not know where to get started. That's why we suggest that you break it down into smaller chunks.
For volunteers with an £800 target, we recommend planning 4 to 5 different fundraising activities. And our recipe goes as follows.
You want to start with your main ingredient. This is your flagship idea. It needs to be fun, creative, and have the wow factor. You're looking to raise between £200 and £300 with this event. Here are some suggestions. School fundraising. If you can get your old school to do a non-uniform day for you by offering to do an assembly or take a lesson when you get back from your placement, you're looking at a huge injection of cash. Quiz night. Great fun and a good way to get other people engaged with your fundraising. If you do other activities on the side, such as a raffle, you're looking at raising between £150 and £300 from each quiz night. Community fun day. If you've got links to a community organisation, running a fun day can be a great way to get other people involved and can raise lots of cash.
Next, you want to add one sponsored activity. What would be a challenge for you? Or maybe you can use Dare to Donate. It's best not to have a cost associated, so here are some suggestions. The £5 food challenge. Spend 5 days with only £1 a day for all of your food and drink. Not only does this raise loads of sponsorship, but it also raises awareness of people who live under £1 a day in developing countries. Keep your Facebook up to date, or even set up a blog. Give it up. Do a digital detox, ditch the booze, or give up chocolate. Do something that you find challenging and people are much more likely to donate. A sports challenge. Try a run, a swim, or a bike ride. Or try all three. A physical challenge is a really popular and successful way of getting people to sponsor you. You'll want to add a dash and a pinch of smaller activities as well, such as bake sales. These are a popular fundraiser for a reason. Who does not love cake? Run at least 2 of these to raise at least £50 to £100. Car boot sales. Collect up unwanted stuff from friends and family and do a clear out of your room. You're not going to be there for 3 months anyway. Head down to your local car boot, £100 a pop. Swap shop with clothes, books, and DVDs. Get people to bring their stuff on a certain date and pay to take part in the swap. One person's junk is another person's treasure.
It's worth adding a backup activity just in case things don't work out. Try to think of this as your takeaway menu on standby. And here are a few suggestions. But remember, they're never guaranteed, so don't rely on them. Apply for grants. Have a look at what local trusts or foundations are available, or see if your local school or uni has a volunteering grant that you can apply for. Remember to get your application in early so that you've got a much better chance of being successful. Community groups. Local community groups might be interested in hearing about ICS and what you're going to do, and they may even give you a donation towards your fundraising. Get in touch with your local groups to find out. Bagpacking at supermarkets. Slots are hard to come by, but if you can get in with 4 to 5 friends and pack people's bags for 3 hours, then you can expect approximately £50 per person. Remember, it's never guaranteed, but go in person well in advance and hopefully you'll be successful.
Once you've decided what fundraising activities you're going to do, you need to set yourself 2 things.
A target for each one
and a deadline for each one. That way you know you're going to hit your minimum target by your final deadline. Thanks for listening, guys, and don't forget to stay in touch with your fundraising support officer.
Okay, awesome. Sorry guys, I'm just getting us back on the screen. I think we're there. Great, so hopefully that's a helpful little video just giving you some tips and ideas of different things that you could do and how to break down your fundraising into different chunks. Obviously that doesn't cover all of the ideas that we have volunteers sort of doing, but it's worth checking out the blog that we've got on the ICS website, and also keeping an eye on the Facebook group as well, because people like you are going to be sharing different ideas that are working for them, so it's worth doing that as well. One of the things I was also going to just talk about was just making sure you're really clear with people about what you're fundraising for, because I think sometimes it can be, people might think that you're fundraising for your own expenses on the program, but hopefully you'll remember from your assessment day that what you're doing is you're raising money for the whole program and for the charity that you're going away with and for the whole program. So it's not about your place specifically or you paying for your experience. It's definitely fundraising towards the overall costs of the whole ICS program, which is great because you can say to people, I'm not paying for my flights, this isn't paying for anything, this is towards the overall running costs. I haven't got any more questions, Liv.
Come on, there must be some.
I guess
no question is too silly either, because we want to make sure that everyone's clued up, and we're here to answer anything, so send them in.
I think sometimes you can be sitting at home going, oh, they really want me to ask a question, I don't know what to say, but which is fine. So if you don't have a question at the moment, that's absolutely fine. We'll wait a couple more minutes and we'll just chat a little bit about fundraising, because that's what we do. So do add some more questions if you've got them, but if not, then obviously we're around for you to contact us, and we'll help you out on the phone or text or email, whatever's easiest really for you. Just trying to think if there's anything else that we could chat about particularly. Any good fundraising ideas that you've seen recently from volunteers?
Recently, a girl did a sponsored row outside. This was at university actually, but we do often have volunteers doing sponsored activities, but like maybe if you're a member of the gym, you could do like a sponsored rowathon, a spinathon, anything-a-thon, but just to raise funds. But she managed to get permission to do it outside the gym at university. So yeah, it was just outside there, and she had passers-by coming in, random students, but also people from the public coming up and asking what she was doing. And she managed to raise a couple of £100 from doing that in one afternoon. That was quite a good one.
We had one volunteer once, and she went into a gym. I don't think she was even a member, and she went into the gym and said, "Can I just use the gym for a fundraising activity?" And they let her do a Zumbathon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's on the blog, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they just let her do it just because she asked. So again, it's another example of, and that was great for her because that was like not her network. So she'd sort of done all that work on like looking at all the different people that she could get fundraising from and get supported by. And then this was outside of that group of people, so she wasn't asking the same people again and again and again for money. So that was quite fun, and I think loads of people from the gym signed up to do the Zumbathon and like got sponsored for her. That's great. Which is great.
Other ones, because of like all the summer fairs coming up,
that's a good idea.
One of my volunteers at the moment is doing face painting. So we've got like a public liability thing that we can send out to you. But yeah, she's been going to these community fairs and face painting all day. And she's been doing really, really well with that. So that's another thing to think of, like summer is coming up. So like maybe you could put on a barbecue, any sort of summer themed activities would be good now that the weather's quite rubbish today, but the weather is getting better.
I think it's been pretty bad down like in London and the southeast, but I think the rest of the UK is not too bad.
Oh, okay.
So you've probably got lovely sunshine if you're in Scotland or something, and we're here in the miserable rain. So.
Yeah, but maybe seeing if there's any community events going on in your area that you could have a stall at, or maybe tapping into schools, like maybe approaching your old schools and see if you could have a games table, because there's obviously like loads of sports days and other things coming up, so that could be a good one to do.
That's actually a really good time to approach schools, isn't it? Because we've got half term this week, and then basically after that you're going to have like the last half term of the year, and that's quite a good time to do like a non-uniform day as well. So you might be able, if you can go to your old school and ask them, they might be able to squeeze that in. And that would be brilliant, because if all of the kids in the school pay £1 to wear their own clothes for the day, and you just imagine the amount of money you end up making from that, which would be fantastic. I've got a question from Laura again, which is good. Excess money raised. Great. So that's what I like. Just thinking about more money, raising more money. Yeah, so the way that the the way that the fundraising works is that you have a minimum target that we're asking you to raise, but obviously some people do raise more money, and it's fantastic if you do. The more money that you raise, the more we're able to do. The money that you raise over the top of your fundraising will go into the big pot to help us to run the program. We have a certain amount that we need to raise in order to deliver all the things that we want to do and make sure that the program's really high quality, make sure that we're making sure all the projects are really sustainable and have a real lasting impact. Some of the excess money that was raised through the first 3 years of the program is now being used to support in-country volunteers with Action at Home projects, not Action at Home, with after their Action at Home projects. So once they've done their Action at Home, they're allowed to apply for an alumni grant, exactly, and they can do whatever they want as long as it has sort of some kind of community or development impact in their own community. And some of it's been going towards things like conferences for UK alumni as well. So you might have heard about the Youth Summit, which was run by ICS with DFID, who are the government department who fund ICS. And that was fantastic and had a really high profile, and lots of young people were able to attend and just celebrate and investigate and challenge all of the issues around development and volunteering, which was great. So it sort of works, it works that the money all goes into this big pot, which is shared by the whole of the ICS program, and supports all of the ICS programs that are running across different charities. So it all ends up in one big pot. I hope that answers your question, Laura, but obviously if you've got any more, then do get in touch. Cool. Okay. Well, we're about half past. If there are more questions, then do throw them on now. We're going to give you another 2 minutes just in case you've got any other questions, and then we'll probably head off because it is, after all, a Wednesday night at 6:30, so it's definitely time for the end of the day. But I guess, yeah, what would you say are our main messages from this?
Don't panic, because I realise we've just given you quite a lot of information, and if you haven't fundraised before, it may be a bit like daunting, but honestly, we are here to help you and support you. So the best advice I would give is just to keep in touch with us, because if something isn't working out, that's not a problem. We can just think of something else that can work for you, as long as you're putting in 100% effort. We're going to be really supportive and help figure out stuff. Deadlines, I'd say, really important just to bear them in mind. Just, if you've got a wall planner, stick it on your wall planner, put a post-it note up, but just so that you've got those deadlines in mind, because it's really important to stick to them. And just try and be organized, writing lists. I find when I'm planning anything that I need to sit down and just get a pen and paper. I'm not very good at just typing things. So if I sit down with a pen and paper and plan my fundraising, if I was going to plan my fundraising, that would be the best way for me, is to write down who I need to get involved in it, what I'm going to do, if I need to buy anything, if it's cake ingredients, what I need to buy to do the bake sale. And just sort of thinking everything through, and take an hour to just sit down and think about your ideas before sort of hurtling into them. Yeah.
Whereas I definitely find it like easier to do like a mind map and do like lines out. And I know that some other people like really are good at using their like phones, and everything's on their phone, so they make lists on their phone and then have reminders set up. And it's good, like that video was saying, to set little deadlines, internal deadlines for yourself, and say, right, okay, well, I'm hoping to raise £200 by that point, and I'm hoping to raise another £100 by that point. And that just means that when you get to the deadline, you won't be panicking and calling us and going, what's going on? I don't know how I'm going to raise it all. Because if you've already raised half the money in a month of fundraising, then you're well on the way to reaching your full target. And I guess the other thing is just that thing of once you've got started, it'll feel a lot easier. And then secondly, you'll reach around halfway and maybe go, I don't know what else I'm going to do. I don't know how to, I feel like I've done all I can. And at that point, do get in touch with us, because we probably, if we're looking at a screen of lots of different volunteers with like some who've not got started yet and some who are on 400, we're going to call the ones that haven't got started yet. So if you call us and get in touch, if you're worried about it, then that will mean that we are able to give you the best support that we can.
Definitely would say, if you ever want to chat to us, don't wait for our call. Like, do give us a ring. Like, we've got work mobiles and landlines, or you can email us if it's easier for us to call you. But do kind of like reach out to us if you want a phone call, because we can do that, definitely.
And we're quite nice.
We're all right.
I think. Cool. Okay. Well, we haven't got any more questions. So I think probably we're going to wrap it up there. If you've got more questions, then obviously do get in touch with your fundraising support officer. You can post questions on the Facebook group as well, because we do monitor that. And that's ICS. That's facebook.com/groups/ICS.fundraising. But you should have had a link to that within your email as well, and in the fundraising booklet as well that we sent you. But if you've got any other questions, we're more than happy to answer those. And I think we're going to leave it at that. Any final thoughts?
Get started.
Yeah.
Woo!
We're literally sitting in a room with just two of us going woo now. So I hope there are 3 viewers watching us, at least 3 viewers watching us. That would be good. All right. Thanks, guys. Let us know if you've got any other questions, and thanks for coming along. Bye.
Bye.